Hello and welcome everyone to Why People Buy, from Trust to Transaction. My name is Vanessa Topazer. I am a SVP at IMI International. That's an independent insight and strategy partner focused on working with brands and products and services to really fuel insight-driven yet action-oriented decisions, not only for the short term, but also long-term performance across the marketing mix, from vision to messaging to creative to innovation to optimization, always with the lens of how little do you have to spend to get the expected return. We've had a lot of conversations about long-term versus short-term gain in the last little while. And so what we wanted to bring you today was from trust to transaction. So how do you build trust for the long term? But what do you need to also do to drive that short-term gain as well with your consumers or with your customers, depending on your vantage point? And we're so happy that you are joining us today. This is part of IMI's Why People Buy series, where we are diving into the 12 core themes that drive purchase. And now we have content on each and every one of these from multiple lenses. So if there's something that you're looking for from your vantage point in our database, we have about 800 brands and 400 categories, about 60 plus demographic splits. So we can really see what works and doesn't work depending on your vantage point. And if you missed last week, I was with you last week where we talked about trust at the core. And so if you missed it, you can scan here to watch the recording. I talked about the size and the impact of trust, how important it is to driving your brand, building your organization, your service, or your product. I talked about the most trusted brands that are most prevalent today in Canada specifically, and also North America, industries where trust concentrates, and so where you can see it showing up the most, and then ones where it does not concentrate, and then some insight that we found around that. So what we learned was that 71% of North Americans have made a purchase due to trust in the past 12 months. That's ages 13 to 63. Now, the number is the same in Canada. It's the same in the US, and it is heightened in Mexico specifically, where trust is also absolutely essential. We also learned that trust clusters around daily usage, identity brands, so feeling good about your identity in using them, ecosystem reliability, so that reliability that your brand has, the consistent value delivery. And so it's not about lowest cost, it's not about highest cost, it's about quality, it's about cost, it's about value delivery. And so we learned that as well. We also talked about the fact that the best place to start is to learn from the best. And now if you're a smaller or a medium-sized brand, you might be looking at these brands saying, I don't have the money that they have. I don't have the time that they have, and I don't have the audience and the clout that they have. However, they did start from somewhere. And so within your ecosystem, who you are looking to move, it's one foot in front of the other. But we can always learn from the best. So we know that Nike, it's not just about apparel. It's about a lifestyle, and they represent who people want to be, but they also deliver quality every time. Apple's trust, it's very quiet, it's very systemic, and it's deeply embedded in everything that we do. And we talked about PC, how it has really reframed private label from that cheap alternative to the absolutely smart choice for you for many reasons. And Canadian Tire in Canada specifically, trust is deeply contextual and distinctly Canadian, but they also have, they are also embedded in everyday moments. And that's really important when it comes to trust. And then Walmart's trust is pragmatic. It's not emotional. It's about economic security. And so learning from them, we can learn that trust grows where risk declines. So if you think about that from your vantage point, whether you're a product, whether you're a service, a new brand, an old brand, think about how you can reduce the risk, because that's where your trust will grow. And we learned that trust is earned when a brand feels like it protects you and not just entertains you. Now, we were really surprised at IMI International to learn that, the entertainment brands aren't really the most trusted. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't need to have trust, and it doesn't mean that they may not have trust in their ecosystem. However, they are not the most prevalent in terms of trusted brands top of mind for consumers right now. And so a brand is really trusted and is top of mind when it protects you and not just entertains you. And that really comes down to the everyday usage that we have. So we looked at retail, we looked at CPG, we looked at apparel as well. And that's where the most trusted brands really come up. So for today, we're going to talk about the top drivers of trust. And we toe dipped into that a little bit last week. But we're going to focus on the 20 themes, the Canadian Trust Framework, to not only drive trust for long-term brand building, but it will drive purchase and transactions right now. And so what are the key actions that you can take from your vantage point to action these right now to drive trust, but also transactions and purchase with the people that matter most to your business? So what actually makes Canadians trust a brand enough to buy today? Let's get into it. But first, as we always like to do, we want to put you guys on the hot seat. So I'm looking for your comments on what is the number one theme that resonates with consumers when it comes to trust. Is it A, authenticity and honesty? Is it B, national origin and pride? Or is it C, celebrity and influencers? So as you're thinking about this, try to step out of your own vantage point as well and look at the consumer around you. Do you understand what's happening in the consumer's world? Are you understanding what is most important to them? Because that's the foundational understanding that you need to have in order then to put your lens on it. And as we learned from all of the work that we've been doing through the Power of Brand series, that we've been doing through Trust Exposed, that we've also been doing through Gen Z, we know that authenticity and honesty is absolutely essential. We've also dug into this with the Not-for-Profit series with our other Senior Vice President, Laura Janes. So we know that authenticity and honesty is important. Celebrity and influencers, again, as we dug into Gen Zs, we were really surprised that celebrity and influencers aren't really at the forefront of everything with Gen Z. You can't really paint a wide brush. They are very selective. But do they drive trust and do they drive transactions? That's a question. So we have A, we have B, and then all through the work that we've been doing on Canadian sentiment right now, we've also talked about national origin and pride and understanding, especially from a Canadian lens, how important that is right now. And so is that the number one theme? We also have Tracy. Hi, Tracy. Good to see you. Depends on the demographic. A for me, but a lot of people for C. And so, yes, it does definitely depend on your vantage point. But let's look at it from a high level. It's national pride and origin right now specifically. So let's break it down for you. Number one, national origin and pride. Trust comes from that shared identity. And so we've talked a lot about lead with Made in Canada early and visibly. We've also showed, and I know that Emma Chase will include the links where you can download these reports so you can have all the insight there. Made in Canada is important. Trusted by Canadians is important. But anything you can do from your vantage point to lean into Canada right now will help drive that trust, but it has to be authentically. But even connecting in with Canadian travel, connecting in with Canada Day, what are the themes to show your support for Canada right now if you are not a Canadian-made brand? Local and community embedded, proximity equals credibility. And so show where you operate. We're also talking to a lot of smaller, more local brands right now. We work with, the larger entities and the bigger brands, but we're also talking to those, smaller, medium-sized brands that are looking for their vision and looking for their identity and helping to carve that out for them. So showing where you operate, not just where you sell, will drive that connection, drive trust and transactions. Ratings quality, not quantity. So it's not about how many, it's about what is the rating. So 4.5 rating versus 4, there's a big difference there. And so you have to optimize your experience before chasing more reviews. So make sure you're looking at the reviews, you understand the experience with your product, service, or brand, then optimize, and then you can accelerate. And natural and clean composition. So this simple beats scientific any day. All natural ingredients. Use plain language. Consumers want plain language. They want real. They don't want corporate, especially Gen Z. Now, number 5 to number 8, health first intent. So why you made it over how you made it. So, I heard from one of the presidents of Coca-Cola many years ago, don't show them all the inner workings, just show them what you are now and why you're doing it and what it means to them. So developed with health in mind, lead with the benefit and the intent. What's in it for them? Authenticity and honesty. So we are seeing that is showing up. Trust is emotional before it's rational. People can feel that security, and that is an emotional feeling over the rational. And so authentic really comes true. We also learned through Trust Exposed that when you have made a mistake, coming out with that authenticity and that honesty to say that you've made a mistake, it will bring back about 30% of the consumers that you might have lost if you don't do that. Cause with human impact. So it's people over platforms. This is a really important delineation. People over platforms. We work with the cause in the cause industry a ton, really focusing in on who they do things for, why they do what they do. And so it's about the people versus the platform that you're on. And so children's charity, cancer research. The important thing as well, if you're going to align yourself with a cause, and we do know that it is important for purchase as well as trust, and it is expected for many consumers today, pick one and commit to it for the long term and avoid cause hopping. So really line yourself up with that cause, drive that connection. And then number 8 is fair value, not deep discounting. Price fairness signals respect. And so it's not about the cheapest. It's not about the lowest price every time. It's about the value. And when you do, ask for the price and you do show that value, that will show that that they can respect you. And then that drives trust even further. And there was a lot that we learned actually from the starting point of IMI, where Jules Diamond really dove into what is going to drive a specific promotion forward. And we found that when you actually put a price against the offering, it was seen as more value, and it drove the greatest return for both the organization and for the consumer. Number 9 to number 12, risk removal. Clarity reduces anxiety. And so we saw that safety is really important. 30-day hassle-free guarantee. So reduce that anxiety, reduce that risk. Familiar social proof, practical over ideological, recommended by a friend. There is nothing like momentum from a friend and a recommendation. It's a win-win for the organization. It's a win-win for the brand. And it's looked at by humans and by people. Seeing friends use and wear. There is nothing like the momentum you can get from a recommendation, and it's absolutely free value add marketing for you as well. So encourage that shareability. Try to get that shareability out in all the different tactics that you do. Quality as a baseline. So it's actually table stakes. It's not differentiation. You have to state quality once, but then you have to prove it. So if you are quality, say it, but do it and prove it at every single touch point. And so that's that, don't say something, actually do it. And that will just prove itself, and that will lead your brand forward. Performance benefit, outcome over features, built to make you better. Everybody wants to do better. Everyone wants to try better. They're not looking for perfection. So anchor claims in outcomes, and that will help drive you forward and the consumer forward that you're looking to reach. Now, 13 to 16, heritage and longevity. So time signals reliability. Now, it shouldn't be just your backbone, just coming out and saying we've been around for 100 years only. That's not going to provide reliability for today. So you have to have the balance. That heritage and longevity, you can use it, and you absolutely should as a reason to believe, but it doesn't need to be your leader. And so use history selectively, but do use it if you can. Delivery speed with absolute certainty. And that's, again, it's lowering the risk. Same day, next day. It's not about in 3 days. And fast only works when it's absolutely believable. So make sure that you can deliver on that promise. Sustainability. There's a lot of talk about sustainability right now as well in the universe. And Dan Hunter from IMI International speaks about sustainability a lot. So check out some of the content that we have on our content site from him. But practical over ideological again. So renewable materials, recycled materials. Is it believable? Is it practical? And is it sustainable? And how are you tied to that? Because it is important to consumers right now. It's not everything, but it is an important backbone. And Gen Z is absolutely pushing this conversation forward. Now, it doesn't mean that they will buy because of it. It could be a trade-off, and it can be a tiebreaker, but they do demand it, and they are demanding the conversation. Now, we're going to go to some that are a little bit lower on the trust to transaction scale. Scientific framing. It's helpful, but it's not persuasive. So scientifically developed, you can see that it's 47%. So it's a little bit lower. So using science as validation, not as the headline, so as your reason to believe, is a way to go. Human over machine. So lots of talk, obviously, about AI. It's on a rocket ship for browsing specifically. And so if you are not embedded in AI search, you are definitely missing out. And so as so much of spend for marketers is digital right now, bricks and mortar is also extremely important. We have the data on that as well. But because browsing is so important on digital, you have to make sure that you're embedded in AI and you are searchable in AI, or else you're just misspending your digital funds. And where it fails is developed with AI. So it's developed by humans, backed by AI, is what the chronological order should be. Celebrity and influencers, there is low credibility, but when we do see there is trust, an athlete, now it doesn't mean that an influencer isn't going to drive purchase. That's not what we're talking about here, because we do know specific influencers do drive purchase with specific generations. And Tracy, you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of people that are looking at that, and Gen Z specifically, very selective. And I could talk about that all day. So spend here only after fundamentals are strong. And again, it comes back to the fundamentals of never build your brand on an asset or an influencer. Use them to lift you up and accelerate, but don't build your brand only on them. You have to build your brand on yourself first. and then leverage them as activators. Activism is very polarizing and it's not trust building. Consumers do look at brands and they want them to stand for something, but it's also the way that you do it. And so activism, it is very polarizing. It's lower than neutral causes. Newness is unproven and it's also risky. And so founded in 2020 is more risky than if you have that heritage to stand up. So offset newness with proof, with people, and with transparency. And so when you're looking at your vision, when you're looking at your strategic imperatives, when you're looking at your communication platforms and your brand house and how you show up, make sure that you balance all of these things based on your vantage point. So those are the top 20. In terms of the top drivers of trust right now, let's just summarize it a little bit. We'll look at Canada, but also the US. So for Canadians, it's made in Canada, made locally, and consumer ratings. For Americans, it's authentic. It's all natural and it's best price anywhere. So a little bit more price sensitive. When we look at the deterrence right now for Canadians, it's developed by AI. I mean, Canadians know that AI is at the forefront, but it's not necessarily going to build trust right now. And with everything going on in the news, perhaps that's going to be more prevalent for a little while now until things settle down. Founded in 2020, made in the USA as well for Canadians is not going to build trust. It's going to deter it right now. And for Americans, it's endorsed by an influencer, and again, that is generational. This is high level. We do know through all of our Gen Z work that influencers do play an important role for Gen Zs, but they're not everything and they're very selective. Founded in 2020 and developed with AI as well for Americans. So when we look at the Canada Trust Playbook summary, if you are looking to earn trust in Canada today, be real, be local, be proven, be human, remove the risk, and avoid over engineering. Again, be human and talk in real language and don't make things too complex. It's not going to be understood and consumers won't be drawn towards it. So as leaders, think about 2026, but beyond. And the question is no longer only do customers trust us? It's really important. We have a lot of conversations with brands and products and services around their brand health right now. Like, what is their starting point? Do they have a trusted brand? How do people perceive them right now? Where do they play versus their competition? But the question is, how are you earning more trust than we did last year? And how are you taking those small steps forward to earn that trust every day at every touch point with the consumer that you either care about right now, but also care about for your future and are looking to recruit? Because as leaders think 2026 and beyond, trust isn't static. It's earned and it's remembered, and you have to continue to build it. So if you haven't yet downloaded our trusted brand playbook, I'll leave the QR code here right now. I know Emma Chase has already put it into the chat. Thank you so much, Emma Chase. It's really the essential guide to turning trust into transactions. Again, trust is for long-term brand building, and we all know the power of brand for the long haul, but it's also for short-term purchase and transactions, which we all want to drive right now. We know it's tough out there, so we want to help you drive those transactions immediately. It talks about the size and impact of trust, the most trusted brands, the industries where it concentrates, where it doesn't concentrate, and then it also summarizes the 12 themes right now, plus a few things that we didn't cover in our LinkedIn Live. So please share it with whomever you think it will be valuable. And as always, if you want to go deeper, I can talk about brand strategy. I can talk about consumer understanding, validating growth opportunities, making sure your communications maximize effectiveness. At IMI, we really deliver insight-driven solutions that drive dividends. We hear it from our clients all the time. Always open for a conversation, always open to talk brand and setting you up for success. So please, if you want to reach out, there's my email, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And again, thank you so much for joining, and hope that you have a great rest of your day.